I was working in Kentucky one time at a station down there, and I always listened in my office and made sure they played the commercials. You know how that is. And I noticed this guy didn't get them all played, and it was about 5 till. And he said, well, this will take us up to the news. And I thought, whoa, we missed 5 commercials. So I went in and told him, I said, you missed 5 commercials. He said, well, nothing I could do. We didn't have the time. I said, get up. He got up. I said, I sat down. I put my record on. I still records in. And I put a cart in the cart machine. That was our commercials. Hit that, turned the record down, did a little weather between them, did the other one, got through it, turned the record back up. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
He said, that's not right.
Well, you had to go where the money was made.
Well, you have to play that. You don't want to lose the commercials.
Right.
I know you wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't do it either. Now, when back in '63, I was working with ELW then, and I broadcast the Ohio State Fair. And we lost everything except one little turntable, 45 turntable.
Yeah.
No cue, no way to do anything.
Gee.
So, and I had, Hank Williams Jr. was about 16 then, I guess, 15, something like that, but he was a great talent. And Sheb Woolley, you might remember him.
Okay.
He was on Rawhide, I think. Sheb Woolley had a song called Purple People Eater, rock and roll back in the 50s. But anyway, they come to be my guests, and I had to talk to them, turn my volume down, set the needle on, turn the record on, and then turn the volume up and stop talking when it picked up the music. But I just had a ball with it, though.
Well, you know, I think like you said, it's changed. I don't know, and things are always changing. They started changing from '56 when you started. Everything started changing up, and you know, last radio station I done, I could control it all remotely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My news would automatically download.
Yeah.
You know, I could switch over to that. My music was automated. The commercials would automate. You know, it was just it's so much different, you know, what you could do.
Well, John, radio prices have changed. The station down there where I live now in Lebanon is a real good country station. I got a good AM and FM. AM was gospel, you know, but he offered me that office building, super nice, and all the equipment, the stations. Lennis had Alzheimer's, you know, and he couldn't even find his car one day when he come out of the post office. But anyway, I could have it all for $150,000. The office building was worth that. I had FM tower, AM tower, but my wife, she said, no, you're too old and you don't need it. That's only a couple of years ago, you know. And so, but I believe I could have made a lot of money with it, but I didn't need it. I'm like you. You know, we've worked all our life. You and I have. I know you're not as old as me, but I've known you a long time and your family, and you know, I loved your dad, Eddie.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, I think about the years. You know, I've always felt like, you know, I treat people better than they treat me.
I know.
I've always felt like that's the way I ought to do it.
know.
You know what I mean? And the Lord spoke a word to me years ago, and He said, son, I've got treasures hid in those mountains.
Amen.
And I want you to go get them. That was His word.
Yeah.
And
boy,
I felt like the vision He gave me, real simple. And the big thing too, you and I both know, if you don't get under such a financial strain, and a lot of people have to move away from the original vision God's gave them because of the financial strain.
Amen.
And they'll get into a position that they have to do things that they probably don't want to do. And I've tried to keep myself as simple and keep it where, you know, I mean, Connie's been with me over 30 years working for me.